Okay, what's happening? All righty, we are live. Yes, we finally made it, Rob. We are live.
All
So
right.
we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I think we're even live on YouTube. I feel like it's been such a long time, but it was only last month since we had the October webinar. So you guys, welcome back to Y Sales Network monthly webinar. We're excited about our guest today. We're going to talk to you guys about just closing the year strong and the importance of having a strong sales plan and how to create that plan, right? And so I have a special guest with me tonight that I wanted to come and come on board and talk to you guys a little bit about. I know y'all get tired of hearing me. And so tonight I have Rob Smith with us from Sales Accelerator. Excuse me, say that fast 3 times. Rob, introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Rob Smith. I've got a practice where I help small and medium-sized business owners struggling with sales issues by acting as a fractional sales leader. So I take control of the function. I help them with their sales planning, strategy, process, execution. And I have to say, if your audience gets tired of hearing from you, it's not going to take them long to get tired from hearing from me, Joyce.
you know, Rob, because you know why? Because I think we have a lot of people, especially on Facebook, that have just started following us. When we go live on Facebook, they automatically pop up because they've become interested in the topic of sales and understanding the importance of sales. And a big part of this webinar is educating people on sales, right? Because for some reason, they act as if it's a 4-letter word, right? Which I guess sell is, but if you add the S, then there's 5.
Right.
So I am determined, Rob, to get everyone on board and understanding the importance of sales in their business. And so, like I said about today, it's all about creating a winning sales plan. We want to give them some tips for that. But I want to start with our leaders and talk to our leaders about why it's important for them to set their goals early and
Sure.
then communicate those goals early to their teams.
No, I totally love your goal and all of this. I think it's a noble effort because sales are hard, right? It's a tough thing, especially for those that may not have spent the majority of their career like you and I doing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, to your question, the plan is the roadmap, right? Like if I wanted to get to Denver in a certain amount of hours, that's the goal. How you get there, that's the plan, and that's really where you define the tactics, maybe even the markets, the products, the things that you guys are going to be working on, or your team's going to be working on in a year. And the earlier you start that process, I think the better the plan will be, in that you can tap the necessary resources, and you can even include your sales team in that process, your sales reps. Now, I'll tap the brakes a little bit and throw a caveat out there. Only include your sales reps if you're actually going to take their input.
Because there's that, Rob.
Yeah. Because the worst thing you can do is say, hey guys and gals, what do you think you can do this year? And then you completely trump it. So as long as they're, involved and that input is valued and baked into the ultimate plan, I think that's a good thing. It's a good opportunity to build trust and rapport.
That's a great point, because a lot of sales organizations, I've worked for a few, that will ask the sellers for our forecast, right? What are you forecasting for next year? And our leaders, they know what we have in the funnel, right? They know who your customers are. They know what you're talking to them about already. And sometimes when you're in a very fast transitional type of sales process, you maybe don't know just yet, but the trends and what have you. And then all of a sudden they'll give you the sales goal, and it's just something, it's in Egypt, right? And I'm in Houston. Like, why does that happen?
I don't know. So, stepping back in history a little bit, prior to establishing my practice, I was the VP of sales for a division of a big corporation, and annual planning was more like a negotiation really than anything. And it started about, July, and you'd start pulling your numbers together, and you'd come up with this pretty plan and present it, maybe the end of August, beginning of September. And they're like, oh, we've already decided what your number is. So that's kind of why I say, if you're not going to take input, then you may as well not ask for it. Yeah.
And then there's organizations that won't share until I mean, I've talked to friends before, and this happened to me before. You don't have your goal until like late February, and then
Oh
they
man,
back it
yeah.
out.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
That happened routinely, and I think that's one of the worst things you can do because you're already a quarter in and you really don't know where the goal line is yet.
you know,
Um,
I was sharing with so I hosted one of our master classes on Friday, and I was sharing you can't hit a target that's not there.
you're absolutely right.
You know, you can't hit a target that's not there. So you throwing a football, no one's there, you know, the other guy gonna catch it, you know, it's football season. So but
Hey,
you
got to
can't
go with that metaphor.
you gotta go with
Absolutely.
that. You got you know, but you can't hit a target that's not there. And so when what happens is the sales teams get really stressed out, right? They get
Mhm.
really anxious. They have a little anxiety. You know, they're moving, you know, on the highway of sales, sort of, and not really knowing, you know, if they're achieving. And as salespeople and professionals, you know, we are high achievers and we have to feel as if we're accomplishing something. So I wanted to start with that conversation because for our leaders who are listening, start early, and if you haven't started yet, spend some time going and starting now so you can communicate that to your teams, you know, at the end of December or the first week when they get back.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I think kind of the paradox, because everybody's thinking about how to close out,
Right.
2021 Q4, weird fiscal year timing aside, and all like that. The end of the year is the end of the year. Everybody's trying to close strong. When at this point, especially in Texas, and I know your viewership spans greater than Texas. I mean, the year's about to be over with. People are going to
Yes.
disappear to go hunting. The holidays are coming up. So, with little exception, there's not a whole lot you can do to
Right.
impactfully, make the year better. Um,
Right.
so, to your point and to your question, let's start planning now, because it's better to lay those plans, in Q4, or maybe even start in late Q3, so that come January 1, everybody's in the chalks, ready to go, ready to hear the gunshot, because the rock's
Right.
back at the bottom of the hill after everybody gets done partying for New Year's. And the better you can be prepared for that, the better your next year is going to be. And um, like you, Joyce, I do some speaking and that kind of thing, and I do a presentation, kind of the top 10 things that I see wrong, um, in my engagements with small and medium sized businesses.
Mhm.
And that's really, kind of the population we're speaking to. And my number one thing is there's no solid sales plan. So, it starts with the overall business plan, and that, business plan, the goals for the business needs to absolutely be connected to the sales plan. That plan needs to be clear, concise, and it needs to be boiled down and cascaded into the individual salespeople, so that, you said it, salespeople are high performing, we're competitive, we want to know where the
Right.
goal line is. And unless you really clearly distill the overarching goals down into something individual that you can charge a Joyce or a Rob to go take that hill, you really, you're not going to take the hill. It's as simple as that.
You're not going to take it, you know. And so when you say ready, set, go, no one's going anywhere because they don't know where to go. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to say now to the sellers, although you don't know where you're going, you need to have a plan yourself, right? So, you know, you have your forecast that you're going to give your leaders, and how, you know, what's the best way of creating that plan for yourself. I don't know about you, Rob, but I always thought about how much money I want to earn, you know, what I want to do special next year, where I want to travel, what I want to do, right?
Yep.
And then for me, I'm going to um I'm going to go from there, and I'm going to
You're going
back
to
it
work
up.
that backwards. Yeah. You
I'm
start
going
with
to
the
go
start
I'm
with the
going to work
solution.
back. Yes. And I think that's the best way, you know, because to me, I need to know the target I'm hitting, and then I need to work backwards. If I have really strong fourth quarters, because I have customers that are doing projects over the holidays and things, for those of you who are, you know, selling to school districts, a lot of times they want to do a lot of maintenance projects and things when the students are out of school, right? And you're selling to colleges, and you know those people, they have a lot of project work going on over the holidays, and unfortunately their maintenance team is there working, making that happen before everyone comes back. And so if you have a strong, a slow summer, then you know what you need to forecast in that quarter. If a lot of your forecast needs to go towards the first quarter, right? When everyone's excited and back and got their budgets. And knowing your customer budget is important, because I just mentioned colleges and things. Their budgets normally run from June to the end of May, right? June to June. So, well, July to the end of June. And so you need to really understand how your customer, what their fiscal year looks like, because different companies have different fiscal years. But for me, I'm going to start at what Joyce wants to accomplish first, because it really doesn't matter what goal the company gives me if it doesn't match up to my own personal financial goal, right? How did you do it, Rob?
I think I did something similar whenever, and I think part of that, I don't know, maybe it suggests a lack of, guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, say you had a bogey of X that was assigned by the company, but you know your comp plan. Every good salesperson does.
Every good salesperson does.
And a good salesperson knows how to game their comp plan. And that's
Yes.
a whole nother conversation about comp plan design and stuff like that to incent the right behavior and all like that. But no, I did something similar. So if I had a bogey of X from the company, but I knew that X plus 10% was going to yield me something that I wanted, like a nice, European vacation or, whatever that may be. That's for myself individually, that is really the goal that I tasked myself with. And, the company thing was the company thing. But, hopefully in this, sales planning conversation and, getting business owners to start thinking about, this kind of thing, it's best if you can align those two things. So like Joyce, if, your sales manager knew that you wanted a new BMW 5 Series or whatever, maybe a conversation about goals and that kind of thing would have been a little bit more impactful.
Absolutely.
If you could align the business with, the personal goals as well.
I tell you, as a direct sales leader, direct leading people and being an influencer without authority, that's the conversation I would have with sellers, right?
Absolutely.
What do you need to accomplish next year? What do your family need from you, right? Is it a new house, a new kitchen in the house, right? You got a kid that's tracking to go to college. You got to do college tours next year. What's taking place in your life? And scrap the thought of what the company expectation is going to be of you, because that can sometimes create a false mindset to me, right?
I agree. And I think there's a heck of a lot of power in that concept.
Absolutely.
And knowing your reps and what their personal goals are, and making that a part of their everyday, and being a part of that as a sales leader within the company kind of, framework structure or whatever. There's lots of power in that.
Right. And then celebrating them when they get that new house or that new car, what have you.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, when my guys we used to come to me and say, "Oh, Joyce, my wife's pregnant." I'm like, "Yes, you got a new goal." Yes, it's gonna happen. Yes. Let's see how we can get you some income for that, right?
Oh yeah, no. I had a leader that thought that very same way. I want you in the big house.
I want you in the big house. I want your kids in private school, right?
Oh yeah.
And so
absolutely.
I think if as sellers, if individuals begin to think about that term, and even small business owners, because I was meeting with some small business owners on Friday. When you think about that, as a small business owner, a piece of equipment you need to buy for your business, you want to hire a new person, right? You want to, whatever it is you want to accomplish to expand your business, you've got to start having your plan out and understanding how you're going to work backwards to accomplish that goal, right? What customers you have in the funnel, right? Which customers you've already talked to that may, and they already said that they have the budget to buy. When they have the budget to buy, they have the pain points to buy, right? So they already understand that if I don't buy from you, Rob, I'm going to have a little pain. It's going to get a little uncomfortable over here, right?
Absolutely.
So those are the people that you're going to go ahead and put in your first quarter, right? If you know what your sales cycle is, your first 30, 60 days. And then you map out from there. But, as I've been saying to people, you can't hit a target that's not there. So it's important that we all begin to jot down our numbers. Someone asked me last week, "Joyce, how many sales courses do you need to sell next year?" I said 285.
You know where you're going.
285, Rob.
Hmm.
285.
Well, no,
That,
that clarity is beautiful.
right? That's
Yeah.
roughly 23.4 whatever people a month. If I need to double it up in some months we need to have more than others.
Hmm.
But 285. And as business leaders and business owners, are leaders of our own business, because the great thing about a sales job is you really are your own boss almost. The harder you
You own
work,
your business. You own your book, right?
you got to own your business.
Yep.
You got
Yeah,
to own your business.
and I think knowing your numbers is critical.
Mhm.
And again, those individual numbers are a derivative of a higher level goal of the business owner. And I think one of the things I encounter more than anything is, kind of one of the frustrating, or points of frustration that I hear from owners that I engage with is
Mhm.
I can't get my salespeople to do what I want them to do. And after I kind of show up on the scene and do a little bit of digging, it's because the owner has never really told them what they want them to do. I want you to sell 285 training, you know,
Right.
classes next year. It's in their head. They've just not communicated it or written it down, or had those conversations, which I think goes to, your initial question: early planning, early communication. Let's make these things clear, and hopefully they align with, the personal goals of the individual sales rep. And if you do all of those things, it's funny how good things can happen. And you know work it back from the solution. If you need to sell 285 training classes, how many of those are going to be to maybe repeat customers, or new customers, or new markets, or those kind of things, or all of those things that you need to explore. And I'm using
Mhm.
your context that you created, but
Absolutely.
that's all the more reason why it's important to start early, because you can't come up with those answers in an afternoon, I wouldn't think.
I don't. I mean, if you stayed up all night, did all nighter, which is basically what I did. I was counting those numbers over and over and over and over again. I tease the kids, my nieces and them. I said, "Aunt Joyce doesn't know new math, but I know money." So,
Yeah.
so, so I had to keep running those numbers over and over. And then, and I looked at the clock. It was about 3:30 or something like that, and I started early in the day. But you have to, so when we talk about sales professionals, sales, the direct line sales leaders, and the other leadership people, a lot of times we talk about, the inspecting state of the business, right? People want to sit down, they want to inspect what you expect, but you haven't communicated the expectation.
Hmm. No, it's key. And I think another pitfall is focusing too much on the number,
Hmm.
right? Because
Right.
in order for you to sell 285 classes, next year, that's just a number. And however you chop that, whether it's monthly,
Hmm.
and like, okay, I've hit my goal if I sold 25 in January, that's a lagging indicator.
Right.
I think to get caught up in the numbers is a bit of folly, in that it's really activity that's going to lead to those numbers. So what is the activity that you need to be what are the activities that you need to be doing, and how many of those activities do you need to be doing in order to reach that number? And that needs to be a part of the sales plan, and the metrics and the key performance indicators, so that you ensure that you actually do arrive
Absolutely.
at that end number.
And that's why funnel management, I talked last week also about funnel management, because that's why funnel management is so important, and
Absolutely.
understanding the closing ratios from, from pitch to close, from pitch to propose, from propose to close. We got to understand all the ratios, because if you have, I gave the example of, you have a seller that comes and give you a forecast of $500,000.
Hmm.
Well, one of the deals in that $500,000 is worth 250,000, half,
Yeah,
right?
that's risk.
That's risk right there. You
Absolutely.
don't even want to forecast that, right? That's the gravy. I say, the core is the meat, then you have the gravy, right? So that's the gravy. And then they have 10 other deals, right? And some of those are fairly large. And then you got a couple that's, you know, 5,000, right? If their
Hmm.
closing ratio is 10%, You got to figure out, really hone back and peel back the onion to understand those customers, that opportunity, and what that's what 10% that person's going to close. And then as leaders, we got to hop in there and get engaged.
Hmm. Yeah, and kind of sniff test, right? Because
Yeah,
I think whether you're a sales leader, you didn't just get born a sales leader. You were a sales rep at some point, and
your sales rep
you
at
know,
some point. Let's hope.
yeah, yes, salespeople, as a population, I think we're optimists, right? You wouldn't be a
We are.
salesperson if
We
you
got to
weren't.
close it. All
Yeah,
of
if we weren't optimists, if you're not an optimist, you don't last that long.
it. No.
Um, but it's easy to be overly optimistic. So as a sales leader, I think part of the job is to sprinkle in a little bit of realism, so
Mhm.
that say engage your salespeople and say, look, I need each of you to deliver, like your example, 500,000. Some of them may come in and say, hey, I'm coming in at 1.8. I'm coming in hot.
Yes. Coming in hot.
That's also an opportunity,
Right.
to build some trust and rapport and say, all right, let's talk about this. And maybe it's, a big lumpy deal.
Right.
And if your close rate is only so much, you really got to temper that expectation.
Yeah. But if you had to give them three keys, three pointers for successful planning, what would they be?
Um, ha, you know, this is an old thing, but use SMART goals, right? Make it
Right.
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Make them very, very clear. Uh,
Right.
Communicate often. Revisit the sales plan. And look, the first death on the battlefield is the battle plan. So
Yes.
I don't care how early you start planning. You're going to get into next year, and things are going to change. Hey, maybe a COVID happens. Um, Hopefully not
Gosh,
again.
let's hope not.
But I'm just saying that
I
there are
understand.
things there. Maybe you're heavily exposed to oil and gas, and the price of oil drops
Been
or
there. I've
whatever it
been
may
there.
be. Yeah,
Yes, I've
so
been
so have
there.
I. So have I, big time. So you know, make your goals smart, walk them back into tactics, and communicate often. And don't make those especially as a sales leader, don't make those conversations punitive. Make
Mhm.
that a collaboration. And if you need to adjust, there may be an opportunity to turn a setback actually into some upside. So those are the three things
Absolutely.
I'd say.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And, because I think a lot of times, people, we have large and big business that, maybe spend a lot of money and training people. And, there's a lot of leaders, they're top heavy in leadership. And so people get a lot of support and things. But we also have an audience out there of people that you and I both work with, right? Those entrepreneurs and small business owners who don't have those type of resources for their teams, right? I
Hmm.
was reading a study last week that said small businesses spend 15,000 recruiting someone and 2,000 a year training them.
Yeah, seems a little lopsided, doesn't it?
you know and so for those of you who are out there who don't have those type of resources and things, you have to listen to people like Rob and and others, and continue to educate yourself. You said hopefully we'll have another COVID, but before COVID, I think it was a John Maxwell book that said inside his book, who wrote the Rainmaker? I'm not sure. Was that John?
Oh
Gosh,
my
I can't remember
goodness,
now.
I'm
Well,
blanking too.
yeah, inside the book
Yeah.
it says hurricanes don't count, right? You got to
Hurricanes
make
don't
those
count.
numbers, right?
Yeah,
Hurricanes don't count, right?
yeah, yeah.
Hurricanes
Sorry,
don't
sorry
count.
for your luck. What are you going to do?
Sorry for your luck.
Yeah.
Sorry there's a hurricane. But if you're not in an industry or something that actually benefits from a hurricane, because you're selling products and services that they need during a hurricane cleanup or what have you, that can be a difficult space to be in,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
That can be a very difficult space to be in. So inside that book is that hurricanes don't count, right? And so for a lot of companies, they wanted for COVID not to count, but then it did
Yep.
in a
Yeah.
very big way, in a very big way. And so a lot of people, including myself, had to pivot and check and adjust.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that did. I mean, there were some benefactors obviously as well, but
Absolutely.
for I would say a good majority of folks, it was
Absolutely.
you had to be quick on your feet and figure it out on the fly.
Yeah. I tell them in every depression, there's companies that are born,
Hmm.
and when we look at the Great Depression, there's companies that were born that were successful and earned a lot of money. And I tell you right now, I got on my red lipstick, and ladies know no matter what's happening, the lipstick business, the cigarette business, and alcohol business is going to be profitable.
I think the alcohol business is one of the benefactors in that whole
Right.
thing.
They were one of the benefactors for
Yeah,
sure. And so, but so you get into that point where you are going to have those, and you have to plan for that as well as possible. And that's the importance to me also of having a plan and having it early, having it done early, and having those conversations with your customers about what their goals are and what the year looks like for them.
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So, Rob, tell us a little bit. You told us a little bit about what you do for companies. How can our audience find you?
Sure. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Rob Smith on LinkedIn.
No,
Um,
really, you're not. Let's just be clear.
yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on the web at salesacceleration.com. If you do a search by geography for Houston, I'll pop up.
Yes.
And you can call me as well. I don't mind sharing my phone number. It's 346-224-4594. If you just want to have a quick conversation, tell me about what you got going on with, no obligation or anything. I just like talking to business owners and hearing about what they have going on. And if I can't help you, I'll bet you dollars to donuts I know somebody who can.
Absolutely. Dollars to donuts, people. Dollars to, you know, Rob and I are both in Houston. So we're in the South. And when you have people from the South on podcasts and shows like this, webinars and things, you have no idea what you're going to hear, right?
little twists of wisdom and things. Yeah.
A
Turns of
friend,
phrase.
yeah, a friend of mine always says, you're probably going to hear my Southern drawl like Tim McGraw. He says that all the time when he's speaking, but you never know what analogies you're going to hear when there's someone in the South that's participating. So, Rob, I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing. It's November. If people haven't, if you, our audience, have not started with your sales plans, if whether you're an individual working for an organization, a big or small, do it yourself if you have to. You have to have a plan. You have to be able to map out your business is key to your success. So thanks for sharing, Rob. I appreciate you. And then we're going to share, as you guys know, we're going to try to do this here. We're going to try to share the screen. Didn't work out earlier, but we're going to try to share the screen here and go over our Why Sales Network, how to win in sales training that we have. So we're going to try to share the screen.
And I can stick around for that too, right?
Yes, you're going to stick around, Rob.
All right.
I think it's okay. So it didn't share Leanne's, it shared mine. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here and share it from the beginning. You guys know that we launched the Y Sales Network Sales Training Lab. And thank you guys for those of you who's been following that. We appreciate it. We did this for all those people out there that don't have that support and resources, because you have to take ownership of your own business and what you have. So a lot of the sales training, basically, we have the individual courses. We're going to walk you through the prospecting, pitching, appointment setting, proposing, closing, and the customer experience. Because what I've been talking about a lot lately, Rob, is that the customer experience is the entire sales process.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything from beginning to end, And so it's the sales process. And so we have our masterclass that we are offering for small business owners and entrepreneurs. That course right now is going for $2,499. You can find it at ysalesnetwork.com, or you can find it at online courses. But we did a trial of it on Friday. It was very successful. We were talking a lot about sales strategy with our business owners and the importance of sales strategy, how to build it, what it looked like. We talked about the sales process, although the sales process is a big part of the online version before coming to class. And then we really dove in really strong to the importance of funnel management, as well as the forecasting. So I sort of start at the end and back them up and take them back all, together, Rob. We also have one for sales professionals. If you have a team of people that you need to provide training for, give us a call. Be more than happy to come and train your sales team. Don't wait to the end of the year. You still got a couple of weeks that you can get it in. Don't wait till next year, was I was going to say. You still have a couple of weeks to get it in, or at the first of the year, start your planning. But get your salespeople trained. Make that investment to train your people. Just because you're a small business, doesn't mean that you can't offer training to your staff. And I share with small business owners, if you want to be like big business, you have to do what big business do. You have to take those risks and you have to make those investments. But for those of you who are stellar sales individuals, but you think you may need some help in closing or help in prospecting or pitching or what have you, we have our individual courses that are $197 each. You can go out and buy those as well. We try to take, we do the practical approach to this. You have the hands-on training as well as the online training. So you're going to do all the online courses first. You have the tests at the end of them, just like with any other training. I know if you've gone through it. I know where you stopped. I know if you've taken the test. We have documents in there to be able to help you on PDF files and things to help you better manage your business. And then you get me in my 25 plus years of sales experience. Right now, we are going to have our first class, next class. We already had our first class. Our next class for the entrepreneurs and small business owners is going to take place on December 10th and 11th. So go ahead and get registered for your course. Go through all the online training. Join us in December on the 10th and 11th. If for some reason you missed the December course, then join us in January on the 14th and 15th. It's a day and a half, but I will stay really that second day and be able to have those intimate conversations as needed. They're available now. We're also offering a 15% discount with the promo code WSNWeb. So like this webinar, WSNWeb. So just offering again, go to ysalesnetwork.com/training or go to online courses, that is online courses.ysalesnetwork.com. And as always, we want to thank you guys for joining us and participating in the program that we offer. We do these monthly. We want to make sure that we are providing you guys with updated, informative information and insight. And anything we can do, as I tell people all the time, anything I can do to help you personally or professionally, reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn also. I'm the only Joyce Johnson. No, not even. I am not the only Joyce Johnson, but I've been on LinkedIn such a long time, Rob. My name is just like Joyce J, right? Is my code, Joyce J. I was one of the first people that began writing articles on LinkedIn when they started publishing articles way back when. They reached out to me. Yes, they reached out to me and asked if I'd be a contributor. So I need to really get back to doing that. I've been writing books, so I need to get back to writing some of my articles, which is a lot easier to do than writing books anyway.
Yeah, I need to be more disciplined about that as well.
Yes, and follow Y Sales Network. Y Sales Network is on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, Instagram. So follow our pages. We even did a TikTok. I think we're still doing TikTok. We tried it. I am just so not good on it. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better, but I'm just, I'm not that great. But again, www.ysalesnetwork.com. Go out, get your plan together. Plan to be successful for 2022.
It's going to be a good one.
Successful for 2022. All righty. This has been Joyce Johnson with Y Sales Network. Thank you guys for joining. Make it a great month.
Thanks, Joyce.